Hello and welcome or welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles. Today I'm going to be reviewing Legendborn by Tracy Dion. So in this we're following 16-year-old Bree who enters an early college program at UNC Chapel Hill, which is her mother's alma mater. Her mother was recently killed in an accident, and while Bree is on campus, she starts to see things that she's not supposed to see and then gets wrapped up into this secret society. So before I read this, I did not read the synopsis. I personally think the synopsis gives away a little too much, so I'm glad that I hadn't read it beforehand. And a lot of people were encouraging me to read this, talking about how much they loved it and they thought I was gonna love it too, and all of these things. So this is very loosely based on the Arthurian legend, which I knew nothing about going in, and I don't particularly feel like you need to know that going in. And I absolutely do see why some people love it, but I also see why some people don't. And I feel like I'm kind of in the middle because I see both, and I think it all comes down to interpretation of certain events. So I ended up rating this 3.75 stars. I do think that I will pick up the next book, but mostly out of curiosity, just because I want to see where the author takes it. I'll be totally honest, at the beginning of the book I was questioning a lot of people's judgment. By the end I did see the appeal of most of what people were talking about, but we have a lot to talk about today. I have a lot of thoughts, so I want to get right into it. If you have not yet read Legendborn but would like to, this is your official spoiler warning. So as I usually do, I'm going to start with the characters, starting off, of course, with our main character, Bree. And I do like Bree. I understand that she is grieving and she wants answers and she is willing to do whatever it takes to get them. There are some other things for the characters that we'll get into in a second. For now, let's talk about Alice. At the beginning of the book, I hated Alice with a burning fucking passion because I did not understand what the fuck her deal was. I understand that Bree seemed to be doing things that were totally out of character and that Alice was worried about her. However, I think the way that she went about handling that situation was not the right way. If my best friend was grieving the loss of her mother and started doing things that I felt like were reckless and out of character, I wouldn't start screaming at her. I'd be like, bro, we gotta talk about this. Like, I know shit's bad right now, but we gotta figure something else out because this ain't it. I just felt at the beginning, I was like, am I supposed to like this girl? Because I don't. However, I do think she came around in the end. I do like her now, and I appreciated the way that she stood up to Tor. Also though, I feel like a lot of the chaos between the two of them could have been avoided, because if I'm here with my best friend and I'm going through all this shit, I know that she's not supposed to tell anybody, but I probably would have told her. And that's what happened in the end, is that Alice got brought into everything. So felt like all that drama could have been avoided. So for Nick, to be totally honest, and if you know me, this isn't going to be a surprise at all, but I don't feel like a romance was necessary here. I especially don't think that a love triangle is needed, but we'll get to that in a second. I just feel like I probably would have appreciated more either if there wasn't a love triangle, or if Nick and Bree had just formed a really strong platonic relationship and later found out that the reason that they are drawn to each other is because of their lineage. Since we're here, let's talk about Cell. A lot of you bitches lied to me, okay? Because at the beginning, I was tweeting and I was on TikTok and I was like, am I supposed to like this man? Because I don't. And everybody's like, oh, just wait, he's gonna grow on you. You're gonna love him by the end. No, no the fuck I do not. I stopped counting around 7, but it was their first 7 encounters that really made me question some of y'all's judgment, because every time they interacted, he was rude, condescending, disrespectful, threatening to murder her. And I don't understand where out of all of that I'm supposed to start rooting for him. Even their very first encounter when they're in the woods and he grabs her and is being all aggressive and in her face. First of all, I would have drop kicked him. Second of all, how did we get from that to we want them to be together? I'm not seeing it. There were also times where he was threatening her and like just going out of his way to put her in danger, like the time with the hellhound, and he was like, either you have to kill me or it's gonna kill you. Or when he said that he was going to rip her tongue out. Or when he said that he was going to hand her over to the regents and let them experiment on her. I know I don't have to go into American history and experimentation on Black folk. Like, I don't understand where romance has come out of that. And so he does all this shit, constantly is fucking threatening her, and then all of a sudden he offers to help her spar and all is forgiven? I don't don't understand. Oh, and then he calls her pretty at the gala. What the fuck? And I don't understand why Bree let him in. And like, it got very obvious that the author was trying to make a point, like, oh, she's attracted to him, he's very good looking, da da da. And I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. Not a single fuck, because this man has been threatening her life this entire time. How am I supposed to root for that? Sure, he did help her get some answers about her mom, but really he was doing that for his own personal gain because he had questions. I also don't see why there's that scene where he's ether drunk, knocking over trees and shit in the wood, and she's like, I'm gonna go talk to him. Bitch, why? And then they both find out some things about their moms, and like, okay, is this a trauma bond? Because also, not great. Not a fan of the romance. In general, I don't really feel like there needed to be a romance in this story at all. I felt like with the legend and the constant history lessons that we were getting, I felt like it was a lot, and I feel like the romance is just like, it doesn't serve a purpose. It doesn't add value to the story. That's my personal opinion. Y'all know how I feel about romance, especially romance subplots and fantasy, but it just didn't work out for me. So as far as things that I did like, one aspect that I really did enjoy was the history of the root crafters and any scenes that she had with Patricia and Mariah, talking to ancestors, going on memory walks. I thought all of that was amazing. This is the first book that I've read with Rootcraft, I think, and I definitely need to pick up more. I know that there are some more out there, and I definitely need to start getting into them because I really enjoyed that part. I also did like the way that Bree's mom was able to save a memory for her, so to speak. And in that scene, her mom is talking to someone, but she keeps turning Bree's head so she can't see who it is. And I wonder if it was Sel's mom, since she did end up saying that they were friends at some point. And also leading back to the Rootcraft, I do really like that Bree was able to talk to her ancestors, to her grandmother and to Vera. So there were some things that came out of this that I'm really interested in and that I am interested to see in the second book. But as for the things that I dislike, there's quite a few. First and foremost, the fucking racism. And yes, as a Black woman, I face racism on a daily fucking basis, and I absolutely get it. This takes place in the South. Cool. However, it's one thing to showcase the microaggressions that we face on a daily basis. It is a completely other thing for the entire foundation of this book to essentially be racism and generational trauma. To realize that the reason that Bree lost her mother and realizes that she has these abilities and essentially is having the weight of the world thrust on her shoulders by finding out that she's a descendant of Arthur. She's going through all of this trauma and experiencing all of these things simply because one of her ancestors was raped by a white man who couldn't keep his hands to himself. And that is a lot. That is hard. That part, something about that just doesn't sit right with me. And Vera only made this deal because she wanted to be able to protect her family, and essentially that protection has caused this, I don't even know what to call it, I don't want to say a curse, but like just that being the whole foundation of Bree's story and her life and everything that's going on right now. I don't love it. I really don't. Like the little subtle hints of racism here and there, okay, whatever. I kind of had a feeling that maybe she was the scion of Arthur, but that last memory walk with Vera, it just really, I don't know. I think it turned me off to this story. Yeah, I didn't love it. It's just exhausting, honestly. For that to be like the huge reveal at the end, I was kind of like, okay, I need a palate cleanser or something because I'm tired. As I mentioned, I also don't give a fuck about the love triangle because I don't see the point. I just don't care for it. I already don't like love triangles in general. And if, you know, like Nick isn't a terrible person, but I just don't care. I had not seen any fan art or anything. I honestly expected that one of the love interests would be Black, and I'm a little disappointed, to be totally honest. So there's that. I also mentioned that I didn't really care for the legend. I thought that I was gonna have to look it up like beforehand so that I knew what I was getting into. I totally forgot to do so, and then everything kind of gets thrown at you anyway, so I didn't really feel the need. But I also just like didn't care as much, like who's bonded to who, they're from the line of what, like whatever, I don't care. So yeah, and then I was talking to Vina from Miss WSC Breeder, and she mentioned that she felt like she didn't really know anything about Brie, and that's pretty fucking accurate. Like, we don't really know anything about this girl aside from the fact that she can see these little demon creatures that she's not supposed to see, which is funny. Like, I didn't think about it until it was pointed out to me, but I don't know, there were a lot of things. I mean, I feel like people can either take this as, with Brie being the descendant of Arthur, she is going to overcome all these things and force the order to rethink its ways. Cool, that's great, whatever. But also, like I said, it's just fucking exhausting that she had to go through all this fucking trauma, and that her family will continue to go through this trauma unless she can figure out somehow to break Bloodcraft. I don't know if that's possible. It's a decent story. I think I will continue, like I said, strictly for curiosity. I want to know what's gonna happen to Nick. I want to know if she's gonna do more exploring the friendship between Brie and Sel's mothers, and if we get more scenes with Patricia and Mariah explaining Rootcraft and more about her ancestors and all of that stuff. Those are kind of really the things that I care about. I don't really care about Nick and Sel and anyone else. Maybe Alice, now that she's not being a bitch. So yeah, I'm just gonna wrap this up because it's my second time filming today. Let's talk about this, because one, what the fuck is the appeal of Sel? Is this like considered like a bully romance? Is that what this is? I think it's really important to acknowledge the trauma and the racism in this book. I feel like that cannot be ignored. So when people are like, oh my god, I love Legendborn so much, now that I've read it, I'm like, okay, but why? Especially if you're not Black. I have questions. So let's discuss. Let me know what your feelings are on Sel. Let me know what you thought of that final scene with Vera, and let me know what you think is going to happen in the next book. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.